Okay, so this part's going to be welding and piecing everything together. So you can see right now I'm attaching the horn onto the main block. So what I did for the horn was I got a piece of, this is cold roll. I got this from the steel supplier. They just threw it in with a bunch of other cut-offs I bought. Now I'm using this, I think it's called a vertical bandsaw. This was at my school shop, so I really like this saw. I mean, it's really good for small pieces, for cutting odd shaped stuff. At first I was used to like a vertical bandsaw, like for real production cutting stuff, but I think this is much better for smaller stuff like what I'm working on right now, cutting odd shapes and whatnot. Like you wouldn't be able to cut a taper like this or anything like that on a vertical bandsaw, or at least it would be very difficult to. I'd have to do it with an angle grinder or something like that, but this saw makes life very easy. So you can see I went ahead and I just cut that. I cut it first on a diagonal, and what that did was that gave me what's going to end up as my round horn and my square horn for the smaller pieces of the diagonal. And then I cut a 4-sided taper, or maybe 3-sided taper, and now I'm just tacking that onto the Anvil block. So I left a 1/2 inch step between the Anvil face and the horn, because I find that useful for the kind of work that I do. You can see I'm just welding that on. I think I went overall 3 passes on the horn, and I'm using I think 3/32 70/18, so the weld should hold. Then of course there was a lot of grinding. I think I should have just forged the horn down to a round taper. That probably would have made my life much easier. But at this point, while I was doing this, I was waiting for more coke, so I didn't have any fuel in my forge, so yeah, I had to grind it. Over here you can see I'm machining the hardy block. Originally I was only going to do 1, but I ended up doing 2 hardies, and you can see the process for milling the 1 hardy. So I'm just running it through the mill. I took about 100 thou at a time. And then once I did that, I had to cut this down to 2.5 inches, because my anvil face is 2.5 inches wide and this piece was 3.5 inches, so I had to take a 1/2 inch from each side to make sure that the hardy holes would be centered. And the reason I didn't just take 1 inch from one side was because the first thing I did on this project was actually machine that hardy hole, so I was kind of stuck with those dimensions. That's why I had to take a 1/2 inch from each side instead of 1 inch from just one side. You can see just welding that thing together, testing to make sure everything's straight and even, just using that heavy angle piece, and welding the thing. For most things here I did 3 passes, 3 passes of the electrode, so I think it should hold okay, hopefully. And of course, because my welder runs at a 20% duty cycle, I was going in between the welding just to kind of give the welder a little bit of a rest. Can't just weld everything on one shot. Of course, the horn was already 4-sided taper, so And then I went 8 sides, and then 16 is essentially round. I decided to put gussets on the hardy block and the main Anvil block. The reason for this was because the hardy block on itself isn't very strong the way it's welded, so of course the gussets will make it much stronger. So that's why I put these gussets on. And as it happened, I had a scrap piece exactly the right size. You can see I'm just cutting that, marking it out right now, and cutting. And then I welded the gussets on either end of the hardy block. And this should make the heel much stronger than it otherwise would be. Just welding that on. And these are the pieces for the feet. You can see I already went ahead and cut them out. I was running low on battery at this point, so I skipped the cutting of this. You can see I'm just putting it up against the thing. I did a vertical up weld. I'm just tacking it right now, but for the final weld I did vertical up. And I welded it on the top side and upside down on the Anvil body, so it's welded all the way around. And so here you can see it basically roughly finished. I've got to polish it up a little bit and paint it up. And then it'll be done. You can see the rebound, it's pretty good. So I'm pretty happy with the way this Anvil turned out. The total weight ended up being 33 pounds. So there you can see it all finished. I think it came out pretty good. I got a lot of coats of spray paint on it, so the paint should last. And I've also made another video just explaining everything I did and things I would change, so please watch that. And right here will be a link to a larger Anvil I'm making, because this smaller Anvil was actually a practice for this larger one. So subscribe to the channel and you'll catch that video.